Have you ever looked at Ben Affleck's Batman in BVS and thought, how the hell does he do that glorious head turn? Well, stay tuned to find out. What's happening, my fellow geeks and geekettes? Welcome to a brand new episode of Cosplay Chris, and this is a little video of me geeking the fuck out over Ben Affleck's Batsuit, most notably his cowl from Batman v Superman. We're going to be dissecting and breaking down how he was able to turn his head in the cowl, along with his stunt double Richard Citrone. It's really quite fascinating and inspiring to see the engineering that has gone into this particular cowl that is very reminiscent of Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns. Not to mention, Affleck just looks great in the BVS suit. The BVS suit is my favorite on-screen Batsuit. But before we get to how the cowl was made, we gotta start at the beginning with the OG Batsuit from 1989's Batman, directed by Tim Burton. This was a game changer in terms of costuming technology. The only thing was, the suit was extremely thick and extremely heavy, especially when it came to that cowl. Michael Keaton filled that cowl so well, but unfortunately, he was unable to turn his head. And then we were birthed with the famous Keaton turn. Now, unfortunately, this is due to the nature of the foam latex and how thick the foam latex is, particularly around the neck. And the way it works is you have your mold and you also have what's called a core inside of the mold. That negative space is eventually filled and injected with foam latex, usually tinted black. And then when it's cured, it's popped out of the mold, put in a dehydrating oven just to get rid of any moisture. And you're left with a beautiful cowl once it's trimmed, cleaned up, repainted and stuff like that. But like I said, unfortunately, because of the thickness of the neck, you are inhibited to turn your neck. It is next to no chance. But if you flash forward to Batman and Robin, we can see George Clooney attempting to turn his head in the cowl. And this is what unfortunately happens when you have not properly engineered the cowl to turn. Oh yeah, it's bad. Now, going back to the Keaton era, when it came to Batman Returns, in comes freelance artist Jose Fernandez, who, like I said, was a freelance artist at the time, but then went on to found Ironhead Studios. But at the time, he was working on Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman cowl and doing some odd jobs here and there in the Bat Shop on Batman Returns. Jose's big claim to fame came in Batman Forever, where he was tasked with constructing the Panther suit, the Sonar suit, and the Robin suit. At 26 years old, that is an incredible feat. I'm so envious and so inspired by that at the same time. Now, Jose also incorporated some of his friends who were body shop workers on cars and stuff like that to polish the Kilmer cowls to an absolute glass smooth finish. And then when it came to the injection process with the foam latex, the finish on them was absolutely pristine, as you can see right here with Kilmer's cowl and also with the Clooney, Robin suits and Batgirl suits from Batman and Robin. Just by incorporating that high-end polishing onto these suits when it came to molding and casting just meant a seamless looking suit. Something that looked like it belonged in an art gallery. But the whole time, these Batman actors were unable to properly turn their head. And if they did, it looked like this. Ooh. So then comes along The Dark Knight, where they actually separate the cowl from the neck, essentially like a helmet. And then Batman, portrayed by Christian Bale, is able to turn his head technically. Now, there is an interview with Jose Fernandez who got wind of this back in the day when the costume designers were like, yep, we broke the mold, we cracked the code. Batman's able to turn his head, and Jose's like, yes, but not really. Like, we've got to be talking about one-piece cowl for him to properly turn his head, not something that's like a motorcycle helmet. Cut to several years later when Ben Affleck has been cast as Batman in Zack Snyder's Batman v Superman, and Jose at Ironhead Studios was tasked with building the Batsuit as well as Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman suit. But he always had it in his mind he was going to make Batman's head turn in a one-piece seamless cowl. And after hearing what the costume designers of The Dark Knight said, Jose was essentially like, please hold my beer, step aside. So Ben Affleck's actual cowl was a mixture of traditional sculpture and digital sculpture. They roughed out the main sculpture, scanned it, cleaned it up, added texture, and it was a back and forth with printing this thing and then doing clay pours and stuff like that to refine all the details, the textures and stuff like that. But it's the mold making is where the beautiful engineering of this head turn comes in. Enter Rob Freitas and Jim McLaughlin. Rob Freitas, I have had the honor and pleasure of meeting, having some beers with him. Rob is regarded as one of the best mold makers in the world. He's also a mad scientist when it comes to mold making. He's just constantly pushing the envelope. And Rob had it in his head. He had engineered this perfect collapsible core. So usually if you have a seamless mold, you need a collapsible core, something that is going to slip in with a plating system into the mold, lock it all in place, and then you can inject your foam, latex, silicone, whatnot. So whilst they were nutting out the mold making part of things, Jose was figuring out how the hell this head turn is going to happen. So as we saw demonstrated by Clooney, what happens when you try and turn your head in a cowl, it wants to stay in place, but your head will move. So you need a structure, a skull cap under the cowl that is going to lock the cowl onto your face. You can see what looks like a prototype of this face shell slash skull cap next to Jose Fernandez as he's tweaking the BVS cowl. By having this structure between your face and the cowl is going to stay in place when the head moves. So you have the top anchor point there. We also need a bottom anchor point, and that is where the base of the cowl fastens via Velcro, a lot of Velcro for that matter, onto the actual bodysuit of the BVS Batsuit. So you have these two anchor points. So by then you'd be able to do a head turn, right? Wrong. We still have the issue of the neck, one of the thickest points of the cowl. Especially when you have a foam latex injected cowl, the neck is usually the thickest point. Especially when it came to the Batman Begins cowl. That thing has a beast of a neck, as well as the BVS cowl. Those two giant neck muscles on the side. So what Rob and Jib did was put their heads together to make this collapsible plated core so there are air pockets and cavities inside the neck. So when the head turn happens, they collapse on each other, and it actually ends up being one of the thinnest points of the cowl. So with that, the wheels are in motion. They've done a test mold. They've done a test injection casting in foam latex with the skull cap. They've gone to Ben Affleck's house. They've put it on Ben's head, held the cowl down on his shoulders, and with that, Jose said, all right, turn your head. With that, Affleck turned his head in the cowl, and they'd cracked the code. Affleck apparently said, yeah, it's still a little bit hard to turn, and Jose's like, whatever, man, we've figured it out. Now it's time to go back and do our final cowl, our final molds, and final collapsible core. Now here's something very cool. Rob actually posted this photo on his Instagram. This is the mold and the collapsible core all bolted together, ready for some foam latex injections. If you see the name Milo, that was actually the code name for the Batfleck project, which is kind of cool. Project Milo. Can you imagine that? A Milo. And there we have it, geeks and geekettes. By having a skull cap structure under the cowl that is ratcheted to Affleck or Richard Citrone's head, it then helps the cowl stay in place whilst you turn your head. You have all these hollow points in the neck, which makes it one of the thinnest parts of the cowl, and then the bottom that has been anchored via Velcro to the actual bodysuit of the BVS suit. Those two anchor points combined with the hollow points of the neck allows for that beautiful head turn, and there you go. That is how Ben Affleck and Richard Citrone were able to turn their heads in the BVS cowl, and it's an absolute credit to the crew at Ironhead Studios. Obviously Jose, the founder. We've got Rob Freitas, Jim McLaughlin, the wonderful mold makers that just absolutely went above and beyond and did the impossible. So geeks and geekettes, I hope you got a jonesing out of that, because I definitely did. I love geeking out about this stuff, reading into it, and just the fact that we finally got a Batman that could properly turn his head in a one-piece seamless cowl. It's incredible. Guys, wherever you are in the world, please have yourselves an absolute cracker of a day. I hope you're well. Hope you're happy. Be merry, be silly. And until next time, geeks and geekettes, please always remember, cosplayers do it best.